Colin Kaepernick is back. Colin Kaepernick, former Pro Bowler and quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, had a workout with the Las Vegas Raiders on Wednesday, and initial reports coming out of that workout are that it went very well, and they were impressed with what the now, I believe, 33-year-old quarterback had to offer. Colin Kaepernick, of course, has not played in the NFL since 2016, since being blackballed for kneeling during the national anthem to bring about change, to bring about a discussion about racial justice. We will get to that point of it in just a little bit. But is this a big deal for Colin Kaepernick? Is this the big deal for the NFL? Absolutely. Because whether people want to disagree or disagree with what Kaepernick did, there is no doubting that Colin Kaepernick, after the 2016 NFL season, was blackballed from the NFL. He was coming off of a year where, yes, the San Francisco 49ers had a really bad year, and he went 1-10 as a starting quarterback. But he also, in that year, was not the real problem with that team. You could argue the real problem with that team was someone like Chip Kelly. You could argue the real problem with that team was the coaching, the scheming. And regardless of that, Colin Kaepernick still went out there, threw 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in 11 games. So to claim that Colin Kaepernick was on the decline, or to claim that Colin Kaepernick could not play in the NFL even at that point and didn't deserve to, completely asinine. We 100% know the reason he wasn't playing in the NFL. It had everything to do with teams being scared and afraid to have him on the roster because of the media outrage or the coverage of it, or feeling like they're alienating the fans. The truth is, by doing this, they alienated more fans. Real take. Now, as far as Kaepernick goes, there is a discussion about whether or not he wanted to play. And I'm not even going to lie to you guys. There was a point in time where I believe that Colin Kaepernick did not want to play. And again, I'm not putting words in his mouth. This is just pure speculation on my part. I think around the time that the NFL had that workout, there was a whole media storm about this. The NFL set up a workout for him. I believe this was in 2018. And then he didn't show up to it, and instead he did his own thing, and not as many scouts were there. There was a brief period where I did think that maybe it's bigger than football for him. Maybe he doesn't want to play. After seeing what he's been doing the past few years, still in shape, still training. He was, of course, at Michigan's Pro Day with his former coach, Jim Harbaugh, throwing and looking really great, doing that, by the way. I believe that he wants back in. And I think this workout specifically, to me, really cements that and proves that perhaps I was wrong about my initial thinking about Colin Kaepernick's intentions. Now, another thing that we need to point out is the fact that, or the question of whether or not right now Colin Kaepernick deserves to be on a team, or right now he deserves to be on the Raiders specifically. And what I can tell you right now is that when you look at the other quarterbacks on the Raiders roster, because they traded away Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is now an Atlanta Falcon. He's probably going to initially be starting with Desmond Ridder at his backup. When you look at the Raiders, they have Jarrett Stidham and they have Nick Mullins. I think Mullins is a very good backup. I really do think he's if you want a backup quarterback who can come in, win you a game or two, and not mess things up, Nate Mullins can do that, and he's good. Like I actually do think he's good. Do I think that Cap has more to offer than someone like Nick Mullins? Do I think that Colin Kaepernick can come in and maybe do a bit of the Marcus Mariota role? Because, yeah, while he's been away from football, he also has not been taking the big hits for a few years. He also has not been using his body as a battering ram to defenses for all those years, and he stayed in shape. So he has legs on him. He actually has, I think, the stamina, the wherewithal to be a part of this offense in a way similar to Marcus Mariota. You could have Colin Kaepernick do those things. And it would make an impact on the game, confuse defenses, and work out very well. And the fact that he's 34, been away from football, and they're saying that the workout went very well, I think that's a very good sign. And look, if you're talking about an investment, like strictly as a from a business standpoint, right? You're talking about an investment in a player that can help you win. The Raiders, by the way, playoff team from last year, gave the future AFC champion Bengals a run for their money in that wild card game. You're telling me you wouldn't take Kaepernick, who can still apparently do a lot of very good things and wow some people. You wouldn't take Kaepernick with his skill, with what we know, on what is likely going to be almost a veteran minimum deal. Like probably. Like let's be honest, they're not gonna give him $10 million. They're not gonna give him $5 million. It's probably gonna be somewhat of a prove it deal. And what happens after that. But when you have people, whether or not the question of whether or not Colin Kaepernick belongs in the NFL, I think is really null and void when we talk about people like Nathan Peterman, who again might be a very good person, football player, quarterback. He's gotten a lot of chances and he's basically burnt it out. So if someone like him can go around the league and do all that, there's absolutely no reason that Colin Kaepernick shouldn't be in the NFL. So, again, it depends on what the Raiders do. If Tim Tebow can come back after 5 years, who, by the way, I love Tim Tebow. If Tim Tebow can come back after 5 years, switch to tight end, and at least get a training camp tryout, what's the harm in doing the same for Colin Kaepernick? What is the harm? What, you're going to trigger some people? You're going to trigger some people? People are going to be snowflakes and say, I'm not going to watch football anymore? NFL's already got their money. They already got their money. The teams already have their money from TV revenue. People are still going to go to games in Las Vegas. Because, let me tell you, the people in Las Vegas, they are not going to be turned off by Colin Kaepernick. I promise you. They're still going to sell out that stadium. So, that's just the real take truth. And again, we want to talk about some things like, I really want to make it clear. Colin Kaepernick didn't do anything illegal. All right. This is not a legal matter. Because there's been a lot of people, Deshaun Watson, Reuben Foster, a lot of people who have done who have been alleged of doing terrible things, who get paid, who get tryouts, who get signed by teams, even though they have these pending legal troubles. I think that it is absolutely absurd to put Colin Kaepernick in that same conversation as those players. Because he didn't do anything illegal. He didn't do anything that harmed someone else directly. All he did was express himself using the First Amendment. And if we want to get real about the First Amendment and freedom of speech, freedom of expression, whether or not you agree with it doesn't matter. Because you can, I hear you. I hear you if you believe that what Colin Kaepernick did was genuinely disrespectful. There is an argument, I think, to be made about how certain people feel. Because you can't stop how certain people feel. But to claim that he should be blackballed for it is absolutely asinine. Especially in a league where we have people who are accused and alleged to do a lot of really bad things. On the radar, this is not even on the radar of comparatively to a lot of players. There are players who deserve to be blackballed in the NFL for things that they've done. Colin Kaepernick is not one of them. That's a real take. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.